for this kind of invitation. I'm sorry because this session is starting with the last paper, but I have to leave, so I asked to anticipate my presentation. The reason why this presentation was the last one of the session is because the topic is quite challenging, and it is something really new and should be discussed on the light of the previous experience about SCR. This is my disclosure of a conflict of interest. There's some conflict of interest in this specific presentation. So, arthroscopic SCR is actually one of the options available to treat massive in the irreparable rotator cuff tears with a joint preserving approach. And different grafts have been suggested for superior capsule reconstruction. As you know, the most popular are fascia lata and extracellular dermal matrix, mostly used in US. And the long guide of the biceps is another alternative recently proposed by some European authors. And the fascia lata for sure has a lot of advantages related to availability, and biomechanical studies show that it is for sure able to restore superior translation compared to other graft sources. The problem is sometimes donor side morbidity, so the surgery is too aggressive. Recently, Clara described a minimally invasive harvesting technique for harvesting the fascia lata. So this is really promising for the future. And regarding dermal extracellular matrix, we have some advantages related to the avoidance of donor site morbidity, and the animal studies showed that theoretically it can guarantee the same results as reported with the fascia lata. Unfortunately, recent clinical studies showed that this is not really true because there is some elongation at a very high failure rate with the use of this kind of graft. So biceps has been described as an option. Different reports of arthroscopic techniques with the use of the biceps are in the literature in the last 2 years. And as I wrote in a commentary some years ago, there are some advantages related to the use of the biceps because there is a biologic attachment on the glenoid side, and it can be used also as a tissue bridging for repairable cuff, and probably can have a protective role on a repairable delaminated cuff, so it can be an option also not only for a massive irreparable rotator cuff, but also to protect from failure your repaired cuff. So promising results have been reported also with the biceps in some clinical reports. And imaging showed a very high rate of structural integrity within 2 years, unfortunately. And some recent biomechanical studies show that it is able to restore the position of the humeral head to limit superior translation of the humeral head, probably better than the fascia lata. And 3 different studies confirmed the same findings, and all of them were published in the last year. So biceps is a good alternative option to restore, to limit superior migration of the humeral head. The problem of the biceps is that not always, not in all of our cases is available because of some recurrence or revision cases, or in some cases where the biceps is torn or is afraid, is severely degenerated. Biceps is not an option. So for this reason, some others last year described, some Portuguese guys described the technique of SCR reconstruction with hamstrings. This is an open technique, and what we changed was to describe a technique, an arthroscopic technique, to accomplish SCR with semitendinosus. So this is a video of the technique. I show the harvesting, just because some of my coworkers say that shoulder guys are not confident with harvesting of semitendinosus. So it's a standard technique for knee guys, for sure, for knee surgeons. So the graft is doubled, and then it's fixed on box configuration. So 2 fixation points on the glenoid and 2 on the humeral side. So glenoid is prepared with the same approach used for standard SCR. I try to maintain my superior labrum to avoid the compromising of superior superior stability. So I remove soft tissues from the glenoid neck, superior glenoid neck, on both sides. I use supplementary portals, and anterior and posterior portals, to reach this region of the shoulder. And as superficial decortication is performed. Then the humeral side, we prepared as a standard cuff repair, so the graded tuberosity is decorticated slightly. Then we fix the tendon on the glenoid side. The tendon is introduced through intermediate portal. So the sutures used to prepare the graft are used as a shuttle. So the tendon is shuttled inside from the lateral portal to the anterior portal, and from then a knotless suture anchor is used to fix first an anterior side of the glenoid, the distal end of the tendon is maintained in tension from the lateral portal, and the scope is in the posterolateral portal. Then the other end of the tendon is shuttled into the posteromedial portal, and tension suture is maintained through the lateral portal to maintain in tension the graft. And the second fixation point is achieved on the posterior side of the glenoid neck. Same anchor. Now the graft is fixed on the medial side, and we create two fixation points on the humerus. The tendon loop is maintained in tension now, and the two tendon loops are passed across the tendon and not through the tendon to avoid any damage to the strands of the semitendinosus. Two knotless suture anchors are used to fix the graft and the humerus. And finally, the posterolateral fixation on the humerus is achieved with the same technique. So no sutures are passed through the tendon. Finally, partial repair, if possible, is accomplished on the posterior side, and if it's not possible, just the side-to-side sutures are passed between the posterior cuff and the posterior band of our reconstruction. So a couple of side-to-side sutures are passed on the posterior side. What's up? Okay. And this is the final result. So you create a sort of posterior and anterior restraint, passive restraint against superior humeral migration. Okay, thank you very much.